What is going on, Football Guys fam? It's your boy Chris Allen here to talk about another set of wide receivers. Now, if you're able to check out last week's video, I focused more on the early rounds. This week, as you can tell from the thumbnail, I'm going to be focusing more on the mid-round guys, but let's contextualize that for a second. For mid-round guys, it doesn't really matter. Like, their upside really isn't a factor for some people. I mean, you're really looking for guys that are possibly wide receiver 2s on their own team with a shot at being a wide receiver 1 in some cases. But for these two guys, hope I didn't get anybody too upset. It's hard for me to see that wide receiver 1 upside. But of course, I want to lead you through all of my thoughts, my process for coming to this conclusion, as I always do with my charts and whatnot. But we'll take it as I do each week by the numbers. And so the first guy I want to take a look at is Brandon Aiyuk. Now, with the 49ers, and we know what that whole, issue with him last year was. With him being in the doghouse, quote unquote, with Kyle Shanahan, we really didn't see much from him throughout the first 3 to 4 games out of the season. But as you can see from the trend line, looking at his targets per route run, and that's measuring the targets he accrued or he earned versus the number of routes he was running on a per game basis. It wasn't until the back half of the season where we really started to see him catch on. It was about week 8 when he started to kick up to about a 25% share in terms of targets per route run, peaked at around 29%, and then stayed at about the 6 to 7 targets per game throughout the rest of the year. And that's what we wanted. Exactly what we expected to see from a volumetric standpoint. But my thing is, I wanted to see more of him from a red zone perspective. I wanted that red zone presence, getting those money touches that we need, not just from a real NFL sense, but also from a fantasy sense as well. And that's where we just really didn't see anything from him there. Overall, in the orange line, you can see there from a route participation standpoint, that takes the number of routes that he was running in the red zone compared to the number of quarterback dropbacks in that same area. A man was in there getting his cardio on for sure. In 10 of the 20 games that he was active, he ran a route on every single one of the quarterback dropbacks in that particular game. But in 11 of those games, he actually had 0 targets, 0 red zone targets. And so again, my thing is, when I'm looking for guys in the middle rounds, I want to see that wide receiver 1 potential. I want to see that upside that you could possibly get out of that particular player. Targets are certainly there overall. But if we're talking about any of the other ancillary players within the 49ers offense that could get targets in the red zone, whether it's Kyle Juszczyk or even Juwan Jennings, who is getting in some of that work as well, where is the upside case for Brandon Aiyuk? And that's his best case scenario if Jimmy Garoppolo is under center starting in 2022. If it's Trey Lance, and they're not even passing as much, and that volume isn't there like in the red zone. They were 19th in red zone pass rate over expectation last year. Again, where is the upside? I'm thinking about guys in the similar range like Kadarius Toney, who our own Alex Caruso did another video on just yesterday about what his potential could be in the Giants offense this year. Heck, if you even want to get in on Drake London, one of the top rookies in this class, looking at that closing line value of Drake London's ADP before the draft even happens, that is a possibility. Another guy that I'm looking at. So thinking about his situation, his role in the offense, it becomes difficult for me to see that upside. So he is one guy that not necessarily avoiding, but if I can kind of pair him with other receivers with more upside or look at it from that standpoint, that is where I'm currently at with Brandon Aiyuk. And the other guy that I'm looking at, Marquez Valdes-Scantling, we know his calling card. We know his function when he's on the NFL field, using that 4.37 speed, clear out routes, tactical usage on the field in order to allow some of the other receivers, whether it was Devontae Adams, Allen Lazard, Randall Cobb in Green Bay, in order to get free with some splash plays here and there. And now seeing him move over to the Kansas City Chiefs offense, okay, fine. I can see that function still being useful there in Kansas City, but it's just even there, his calling card, what he is used for on the field can be volatile at times. As we saw, since he was drafted in the league, his ability to actually be efficient on those throws of 20 plus air yards has been up and down season to season. He has been either closer to the top of the league at around 25th in terms of all receivers that actually run those types of routes and earn those types of targets, all the way down in the 70s. And so with that level of volatility, paired with the fact that the Chiefs already have a player that can do something similar in Mecole Hardman, who is just as inefficient or has been at times, where is that upside like for MVS like here in 2022? And then again, of course, think about the quarterback that he's going to be paired with, Patrick Mahomes. I mean, Patrick Mahomes has been that guy that we've seen nothing but splash plays from. So Mahomes to Tyreek, or even Tyreek when he was playing with Alex Smith, the deep bombs that we had there. I mean, you could think of and see nothing but upside for a guy like MVS. Well, maybe or maybe not, because every year, like since 2018, Mahomes' average depth of target and his deep ball rate has been on a decline. We saw more to Travis Kelce. We saw more to Byron Pringle. I mean, they were in the running for Juju Smith-Schuster last year, and then they now finally have their man this year. So overall, the situation doesn't necessarily lend itself to a guy like MVS. They seem to be getting more of those intermediate targets, wanting to be able to matriculate the ball down the field there. So with that being said, I mean, those are the couple of guys that I'm not necessarily trying to avoid, but looking at other options when I can. If you've got comments, got other considerations or a different perspective, definitely drop a like, drop a comment down in the chat, and I'll catch y'all next week. Peace.